Hello guys, KP Shambino here with a new video for Fishing Planet. And in this video, I'm going to give you guys a beginner's guide. And I'm going to talk about probably the most complicated part in this game. I'm going to talk about reels. So I'm going to talk in the first section about ratio recovery capacity, because that's important that you understand that. And the second part is probably even more difficult. That is, I'm going to talk about the drag system. So how can you calculate it? So why is that important that you understand that? Because if you don't understand the reel, how it works, you will not use the full potential. I see it a lot of time if I check streams and videos from new players. I see them playing with the setup. It's not balanced. They only use 70% or 20% of the drag. So the fight will be a lot longer on the fish. You will break your reel, your line and all that stuff. So it's very important that you understand it. If you don't understand it, you can break your rod too. So let's start first with the start. So how do you always make a setup in this game? So you got a rod. So this is important, this number. You will see it on every rod. So the line weight 40 kilograms. The highest that this rod can endure is 40 kilograms. If you put more pressure than 40 kilograms on this rod, it will break. So most of the time, the weakest link is always your line. And the rod is always the strongest. Then you got the reel and then the line. That's how it works. So if you break something, you break your line or your leader. So how do you see it on the reel? That's the max drag. That's the maximum that the reel can endure before it breaks. So always the weakest link always need to be the line. That's something that I want to say. So we are going to start first with the reels. So in this game you got two kind of reels that are spinning reels and casting reels. There is a difference. It's just on the technical part. You don't need to understand the technical part. So what is the difference? So the drag system. So on a spinning reel, the drag is in front. So this is like a clicking system. You can put it more closed and open, and depending on the setting, you got more friction on your spool or less. So this is how it works. For the casting reels, it works a little bit different. So you can already see it here. So you got a centrifugal brake system, or you got a magnetic system. But that's something you don't need to understand. That's technical. I just say to you guys how it works. So I'm going to talk in the first section about this stuff. So I prepared something for you guys. I'm going to talk about the ratio, the recovery speed and all that stuff. So why is that important that you understand that? Because in this game you got fish that jumps. So they are going to try to produce slack line to get away. So the trout is an example, the Nile perch is an example, the taimen is an example. So sometimes you need to go with a faster reel. What does that mean? This. So first, if you go to a spinning reel, it's the same for the casting setup. The only difference is they don't have a bail, but the mechanic is just the same. So you got 4 parts on a reel that are important. You got the handle. So you're just going to turn this around. If you turn this around, the spool is going to turn around too. This is a spool. So this section is a spool. That's the section where you put your line. Then you got the bail. That's not that important. And then you got your drag system. So for a spinning setup, the drag is sitting here. So you turn this around, you screw it tighter, so you got more resistance on the spool. You turn it to the other side, you get it open. So the spool can wind a lot easier, but that's something for later on. So there are a couple of things that you need to see. You can see it right away too on the recovery. So the recovery, if you don't want to go technical, just check the recovery. So the higher this number, the faster you will get your line in. So what is this number? If you go around with the handle one time, you will recover 110 centimeter of line. So this is really fast. So you can see it in the shop too. So you see it here. There is a section, recovery. If you go for fish that I just mentioned, you just go always with the highest recovery, above 95 centimeters, and you will get all the rods that got the highest recovery. So you can see it here. So you just hover over it. So this got 115 centimeter, this 110. So I think the highest recovery in the game is the Griffin, if I'm not mistaken. That's 150. So you can see it here. This is 145 centimeters. So if you don't want to go technical, just look at this and you're good to go. Take a rod that can go really fast on getting the line back and go for those fish. But that's not always that easy, because there are a couple of things that are important too. How much McDrex can a rod reel resist and all that stuff. So now the technical aspect. So I'm going to talk what is going to influence the recovery. So you guys can see, I'm going to put this off. I'm going for my example, the big river. So if you go to the shop, so there are two sections that are important for high recovery. That's the size of the spool, that's the ratio, that are important. So first of all, how can you see the spool size, that it's big? There are a couple of things. So you can see this number. So the higher this number, the bigger the spool. So this is a 5,000, this is a 6,000, 6,500. So how can you see it too? So you got something that is called capacity. So you will see that the mono line, that is 0.5 millimeter, you can stack 100 meter of that line on this spool. If I go now to the 6,000, that is just the same but a bigger spool, you will see right away for the same line, I can already stack 120 meter. Why is that? Because the spool is bigger. So that's how you can see it really quick. So the lower this number, the smaller the spool. The bigger this number, the bigger the spool and more line. That does not mean that for all big spools you got a high recovery. Because there is something other in play too. That's the ratio. So what is the ratio? The ratio is this. So the number 1 is the handle. 1 time around is 1. And then 6 is the amount of times that the spool goes around for one handle around. So if I go 1 time around on this one, the spool goes 6 times around. So that means the higher this, the more recovery you got. Of course, it depends on your this too. If I got, for example, a 6,000 that is 1.3 or a 3,000 that is 1.6, they're probably going to have the same recovery because the spool is the half of the size. It's not that easy to understand, but this is a technical part. So you guys can see that really good. So the Fat Boy spin is 6,000, the Big River is 6,000. This is a recovery that is 120 centimeter, and the Fat Boy only got 75 centimeter. Why is that? You can see it because the ratio is a lot lower. So for one handle around, this spool is only going to go 4.6 times around. So therefore the recovery is lower than the other one, and the spool is just the same size. So that's very important. So that's a little bit. So you just need to look at the recovery. But I just wanted to give you guys some feedback too. Is the capacity important? Not really in this game. So we don't have a system in this game that you can go with a low kilogram setup, that you can just stack a lot of line from a low kilogram and that you can get big fish here. No, we got a pop-up that says your setup is too low for the fish and the fish is gone. So it's not that important that you know that, but the recovery is important. That's very important. For example, if you go with the spot rod, I told you guys it yesterday in the video, you need to go with the higher recovery because you need to get it fast back in. So most of the time, that are the high recovery reels that people use for it, for trout and other fish. So you can see now, so if you go now with the gear ratio, I told you guys the gear ratio. So the higher this number, the higher the recovery. You can put it here too in the search. So you will find a lot of reels now with high recovery. So if you put the ratio here high. So here you can see all the Griffin ones. The 155 is the biggest one. But then you see this one, this got a high recovery too, but you see right away the spool is very small, and therefore this recovery is only 1 centimeter. So you can see it got the same recovery, but the spool is too small compared with it. So therefore the spool is important too. So that is the recovery speed. Now I'm going to talk about something very complicated, the drag settings. Okay guys, the next part. So the drag setting. So that's something that is very important. Not the drag setting, the drag system, I need to say. So there are two things that are important. So we are going back to the example that I was using. So this one. So there are two things that are important. That's the max drag and that is the friction section count. So how does it work? They say, they call it here a break. A lot of people call it a break, but it's not really a break. So because a break means at some point you can just stop. But that's not the case in this game. So you always keep winding the line from your spool. So what is this system? So you need to understand this system. So if you don't have this system, you are not going to put a certain friction on the fish. So you're not going to put on resistance on the fish. So that means if you don't have a drag system on a reel, the fish will fight a lot longer. So how does it work? So if you turn this around and you put it totally closed, that's the max drag. A little bit later, I will show you guys it on the gameplay, because it's very visible. It's a lot easier to see it than here. So then you will push 7.7 kilogram. That means if a fish pulls higher than this number, he will unwind the reel still. It's never going to stop. They removed that because otherwise we just pull the fish out of the water. If the fish pulls less than this number, the line is not coming off the spool. It's just the same with the setting 1, 2, or 3 on a reel. That's something that you can calculate, but that's how it works. And there you see the friction section. So every drag system is divided in sections. It can go to 8, 10, 12. It depends on the reel. So you can put it on 1. What does that mean? So how much kilogram friction you will push on the fish? That's very simple. You just take your max drag, you divide it by this number, and you multiply it with the setting that you want to play. So if I want to go with setting 1 on the drag system, it's just 7.7 divided by 8. And there you know, that's the amount of kilogram that this system can handle or pushing. It will not break the reel, because it keeps winding. It's not a brake system. You only will damage the reel if you put it on max drag. So, but this is very important in some cases if you want to go with a certain high level rod that is allowing to get small lures somewhere. So can use small lures. So then you need to use maybe a bigger reel or a smaller reel, and then sometimes you need to go with 2, 3 drag settings. But this is the most common mistake a lot of people make. They cannot calculate this system. So they start the game, they just go with 2 settings, and they are just using 20% of their drag system, and they fight the fish a lot longer. So that's how it works. I will show you guys it right away with an example how it works, because this is a very complicated system. So this maximum drag and this is important. So now I'm going to show you guys the gameplay and a couple of things that you need to understand. First, I'm going to show you guys all the settings that you can have on the reel, what you need to use and all that stuff. We are going to Blue Crab Island. Okay guys, the next part. So I prepared a couple of setups and I'm going to show you guys a really quick what is important. So first of all, I would suggest that you put this setting on if you start the game. So you got here power bars. You can see I got 3 of them. You see all the 3 parts of your setup. And what is this bar going to do? It's going to show really easy what part is taking the most, not damage, but what part is getting the most, power, you can say it. So it's going to go up, and if it's taking critical damage, it will be full red. So it's very important you got this system, because the line and the reel are very important in this showcase. So how do you put it on? You just go to game and you put it on pro. That's how you do it. So there are a couple of things that you will see on the reel. So what do you see on the reel? First of all, you see here now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That are the drag settings. So I'm using the ballerina at the moment. So the ballerina got friction section count 8 and got a max drag of 38 kilogram. That are the section. I told you guys it's a lot easier to see it in the game than when I show you guys it. So how do you put your settings higher? You just use minus and plus on the keyboard. So now I got all the drag settings closed. Now I'm applying the 38 kilogram max drag. So later on we will calculate every click here what kind of friction it's putting out in kilograms. So that's important. So if you make a setup, always start at this. You cannot do this because now you're not using your drag system. You cannot reel in. Now you're using nothing. So don't do that. So that's important. Then another thing, if you do the mouse wheel, you will see there are 4 speeds on it. 1, 2, 3, 4. The more arrows you got, the more speed your reel will do. So the faster it goes. So you will see at 1, it goes slow. I go now to 4 and you see my handle goes a lot quicker. Another thing that is important, so this is something a lot of people ask too, what is this? This is rewinding, so you go the other side. So if you use this, sometimes it's handy, you will put more line out because the reel is now in reverse. So you can see, you see 24 meters, it goes more and more. The 24, 27 meters is how much line you got out. And under that number is the amount of line I got on my spool. So now you can see I'm putting more line out. That's the rewind function that you can do on a reel. So let's get this back in. So that's very handy. Now a couple of things that you can do on the reels. So you can clip on a reel, but you cannot clip on a casting reel. So that's not possible. But you can clip on a spinning reel if you use a bottom setup and I think a match setup. What does that mean? So you can throw in the water. And it's most of the time used to keep fishing at one spot and not always need to use like the marker for the exact position. So now you can close the bail and then push C. And now you see 10 meter. You see it here. This is the clip. So every time that I throw out now, you will see I always throw at 10 meters. That's clipping. Very important with bottom fishing. Another thing that I want to show you guys is, so you see this number. So at the start, you're probably fishing with the rod in your hand. So how can you see you got a bite? Because sometimes it's very hard. You probably got a bell on your rod. But if this number jumps to the same number as this, you can strike. Then the fish is hooked and you can get it in. Another thing that I want to show you guys is, on a spinning setup, you got a bail. On the casting setup, you got something that you click, I think. So now the bail is open. If you do one handle click, it's closed. How can you open it again with R? So open, closed. You see the hand going. For the casting setup, it works like this. So you do this. And then it's a click system. So you can open it too. Open, closed. Very important, for example, if you're fishing at the sea and you need to get your sinkers to the bottom. Because you cannot throw 300-400 meters. That's very important. So that was it a little bit for the basic stuff that you see on the icons. Now I'm going to talk about the drag setting and how you need to calculate it. And we are going to show it with fishing. Okay guys, the next part, and this is very important. So if you make a setup, the rod strongest, then you got the reel is a little bit less and the line need to be the weakest link. So because the fish is going to push and it's going to break, what is the weakest link? But sometimes you need to go with, let's say, a drag 3. So 3 settings on the drag. You guys know now what that means. But how do you calculate that? I already told you guys that, and I'm going to give you guys an example or two. So you see here, I got the ballerina here. So I said to you guys to calculate one drag setting, or drag setting 1. You need to take 38 divided by 8. So for this reel, it's 4.75 kilogram for every drag setting. So what does that mean? This is 4.75. If I go to 2, I need to do 2 times 4.75 and so on and so on. So this is what my reel can resist until the fish is pulling line. It will never break your reel. You will see it in the example, because it's not really a break. It only will break your reel in an example that I will show you guys a little bit later. If you go max dragging, so this is 38. If I go now with a line that is 40 kilogram and I got a fish that can pull 40 kilogram, I will break my reel. For the other part, it never will do that. So how can we do that? So now we got 4.75 kilogram that we got on the reel. So we can test that really easy. I'm going to throw now on for you guys. The line is too short, what the fuck. I'm going to put now on a line that is 2.7 kilogram. That means that the line is now lower than the reel. That's how it always needs to be. So if we get a fish, you will see that I'm going to break my line. Even on friction 1, because friction 1 is pulling out 4.75 kilogram. So you will see it really easy. So I'm here in Blue Crab Island. We are going to fish a little bit. I'm trying to get a fish. So you will see what is going to happen. This will pop right away to the red. This is going red, red, red. And if it is totally full, your line snaps. That's what's going to happen. My reel is not going to take damage, because it's not on max drag. So you will see it. And that's why it's important that you can calculate your drag settings. So I'm going to try to get now one fish. And you need to be really quick. I need to do this live, by the way, because it goes so quick. So let's hope that I can get a fish bite. Normally this works really well. I don't want to go with my Baitcoin ones, because I don't really want to lose them. So let's try to do a twitching. So you need to be really quick, because the problem is I'm going to need to go a drag click lower. That means without drag, and on that moment the fish is gone. But you need to watch now the line power bar, and then you understand what I'm saying. If we of course are going to get a fish, you know. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to Alberta. That's a little bit easier to fish, just to show you guys it, because it can take some time here, and I can show it in Alberta too. I'm going with the casting spoon, and it will work really, really well. So let's go to White Moose Lake. I'm just going to fish on the dock. So I expect that fish will bite a little bit faster. I don't have fluoro on, but yeah, let's see that it works. So what is this? I'm going to the peak. I'm going to get my casting spoon on, because that works the best here in this area. Where is it? Oh no, yeah, this not casting spoon, the single spoon. So let's have a look. So now I'm going to try to get a trout. I can go lower with the hook too, by the way. But yeah, let's have a look. That the fish is active, so I hope that I can catch something. Yeah, here. You guys see it? Do you guys saw it? This was a fake bite. So you see right away the line, boop, will go very high. So you don't have a lot of time, because now at the moment the line is the weakest link, and we calculated it was 4.75. So you don't have the time on that moment, you just need to go a drag lower. So That's it. So the next one, now I'm going to show you guys, of course, because you can say now, yeah, but Shamina, is that really true? Yeah, because now I'm going to put a 5.4 on. So the 5.4 kilogram is higher than the 4.75 for one drag setting. So we are going to do just the same. And what you will see now is that I'm not going to take damage on anything. Because my reel is getting 4.75. It's not a break. A lot of people think it's a break. If it works like a break, here you can see. So now you can see the friction 4.7, my reel is perfect. The fish can get away. My line is perfect too. So you can see it now. Very easy. Yeah, of course, if this is a fat fish, I cannot get it in. But the fish was too strong. You can see this is going to happen. But you can see there is not one part of my reel that is going to break. And that's how you need to calculate the settings on the reel. For example, if I went now on this fish, I can maybe show you guys it. I went one click higher on the drag. That means that 4.75 multiplied 2. That's 8. That's 9.5. On that moment, my line, look, bang, my line is going broke again. Do you guys see it? I went just to 2 clicks. Because on that moment, my line is once again the weakest link. Here we go again. Bang, bang, bang. Do you see? Yeah, the fish was too strong. So that's how you need to do it, guys. It's not that complicated, but that's how you need to calculate your drag settings. And now I'm going to show you guys something. We are going to the Nile perch. And I'm going to show you guys what can happen if you go with the full drag and your line is the strongest, is stronger than the maximum drag of your reel. But we need to go to the Congo, to the Nile perch. Okay guys, I'm now in the Congo, so I needed to come to the Congo because I want to show you guys a little bit the bigger fish, because I need to have a bigger fish. So what did I do? I went on the ballerina, I went with a 40 kilogram line, so that's higher than the maximum drag, and I will show you guys how you can break your reel. So let's have a look. I already got a Nile perch, but it was a young one, and they don't push enough to show you guys this. So let's have a look that we can get a normal one. Here we go. So this is now, there is no problem. You can see it because I'm at the moment on what is it, 7 settings. So that means 2.75 multiply 7. That's not a problem. It's not a break. But what is a problem if you go now one click higher? Do you guys see now? Now my reel is breaking. It will not break right away, but you will see it takes damage 70%, 66%, and so on. So you cannot do this that long. And what I want to show you guys is that even now the fish is taking line. So it never works like a break and totally stops the line from getting away. So the clicking is still going on. I can hear it. Maybe you guys cannot hear it because the sound is low, but you can see I just damaged my reel for 50%. So let's have a look what we got here. Yeah, I'm going to... You can use that, of course. I'm going to max drag him, because otherwise you can't do that. But that's something that before they upgraded or before the patch on the reels, we could do this. And they didn't go away, and I need to stop because I'm going to break my reel. You guys can see it. So, yeah, I'm not going to get him in. Or maybe, yeah, let's try to get him in, and then I'm going to end the video. So that was a little bit the system, guys. So it's not overcomplicated, but always do a little bit of calculations. Be sure that your line is the weakest link. Be sure that you know what the drag means. That you don't play with 2 or 3 settings on the drag. Because that's something that I see a lot of people doing at the start. You are fighting the fish way too long than needed for your equipment. Yeah, this is probably a trophy, I think. So it can take some time. Ah, here it comes. Okay. It's a trophy. 14,000 experience. So that was it for the video, guys. Thanks for watching. And I see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.